Heightened Design Studio says, any tips for open water swim speed? It's so different to the pool.
Mate, you're asking the wrong person for open water swim speed. But if anyone's watching this does have any tips on open water swim speed, please put them in the comments, because I could really do with some. Hi guys, we're going to do a Q&A video. A lot of you said you liked the format before, so I'm going to do one of these every so often, so keep your questions coming in and I'll do my best to answer some of them for you. What can you do?
So we've got a question from Thomas Humphrey, who says, saw you at Ironman New Zealand and loved the channel. Keen to understand more about your run training. So what does a typical week and block look like? What are your most common workouts, etc.?
Good question, Tom. So for me, typical run week looks like I do probably 6 runs a week. It's different than what I used to do. I used to do like a long run, a tempo run and an interval session. I don't really do that long run anymore. Like the longest I did in the build up to an Ironman is 14 miles. So a lot shorter than most people and certainly a lot shorter than most pros. Speed work wise, I'll do a track session every week and that will be anything from 400 meter reps to generally like 1200s. We might occasionally do miles, but that'll be very rare, and that will probably be about 6 to 8k of efforts. And I'll do a tempo run, which is probably about I guess you could say like a marathon paced or a bit quicker than marathon paced run of about 9 miles, 8 to 9 miles once a week as well. And then the rest of it is pretty much steady. I'll run on some hilly off-road routes, and if I feel good I might pick the pace up a bit towards the end of a run. If I feel bad I'll just run it easy. The main thing is making sure that I'm fresh enough to hit the hard workouts hard when I do them. So yeah, pretty different to most Ironman athletes because I don't do that long run, but I do run quite frequently.
So we've got a question from Gary Martinez. He says, I enjoyed the Q&A and yes, keep them coming. For future episodes, here are 3 questions. So the first one is, what was your chosen sport in high school or college leading into triathlon?
Gary, I was doing triathlon pretty much when I was at high school. I got into it at the start. I did have a bit of a break, but I got into it when I was about 12 or 13, so I was quite a keen triathlete when I was at high school. I did do some other sports, football, or soccer as you might say. I was pretty terrible at that. Once lost 29-0 on aggregate. So it definitely wasn't my calling there. Tried rugby, but the training I found a bit boring. I like taking people out and tackling people hard, and unfortunately in training we didn't do enough of that, so that went out the window because I didn't find it as intense. I liked the matches because it would have been quite fun. To be honest, what actually got me into that was playing takedown bulldog at high school. I used to love that, properly smashing into people and stuff, but in the end somehow ended up into doing triathlon. My dad was a cyclist. I used to run and swim, and he said, hey, I'll get you a bike for your birthday and you can do triathlon. At the time I was like, what the hell is that? But that was when I was about 12, 13, and I guess you could say the rest is history.
Gary also asks, did you attend university and what did you study?
Yeah, I attended Essex University first and did sports science, which you could say has really helped me with being self-coached and doing triathlon, because it gives you a great understanding of how the body works and training and different types of sessions, etc. And then after a few years at Essex, I went to Manchester and I did sport management, which was good. That was how I actually got back into triathlon, because when I was at Essex I was actually just doing cycling. And then I went to Manchester Uni, and triathlon was a lot bigger up there, and I ended up getting into triathlon, and that was what kind of set me on the path that I'm on now. Was just doing it originally for the social and to meet mates, and have a good laugh, but just gradually took it more and more serious and ended up becoming a professional.
And then finally, Gary asks, what mental tools do you use when you dig deep and confronting hard efforts? Probably particularly relevant for your 12-hour time trial.
Oh, that's a good one. I just know that everyone's going through bad parts in the race, and I always expect to go through a bad part in the race. So when I'm thinking of how a race might go, I don't really... A lot of people say visualise it going perfectly, but I don't really agree with that, because I think then you're kind of setting yourself up for a disappointment, because even in my best races, they've never gone perfect. And I think quite often when you hear interviews with athletes, or after a race, they'll always say they were going through a bit of a bad patch, but they got through it, or something wasn't going right. So I think you've got to expect the bad patches to come and just be prepared for them when they do come, and have strategies in place on how you're going to get through them. For me, I just tell myself that I'll end up getting to a positive bit and I'll start feeling real good, and that it will turn around. And that's what I do in training. I just think of kicking someone's ass, particularly Cam Worth.
So Kevin Walford says, hey Joe, great time. Completely serious question here. Do you shave your chest? Does that give you sore nipples if you wear a shirt when you run? Is that why you go shirtless? I know that sounds like a strange question, but the sore nipple thing is terrible. I usually use plasters, but not a great look of going shirtless.
Mate, I feel sorry for you that your nips are complaining, nothing worse. But no, I just shave the chest because it gives me a few seconds in the pool. No, to be serious, I don't know really why I do it, but it doesn't give me I don't get the sore nips if I don't do it. But one thing what I would say is you need to get some anti-chafe gel. It makes a massive difference. You put that on and it doesn't rub. I have had the chafing before if I've been out running and it's raining and the top's been rubbing on it, and I know what you mean. It's so painful. I actually had it today. I was out running in a vest. My nipples felt like they were going to fall off, so I had to take it off. But get some anti-chafe gel on there, mate, and the nips will thank you for it.
Jose Santino says, big fan here from the USA. Congratulations. If you don't mind me asking, what did you do when you had to pee? This is during the 12-hour time trial.
Well, Jose, that is a good question. And what I did was, luckily with the skin suit what I'm using now, it's a bit different than my one with Enduro, because if I had to go for a pee, I'd have had to stop, or you'd literally have to piss yourself, which would have been absolutely horrible, because firstly of all, no one wants to ride for 8 hours or more with when they piss themselves. And secondly, there wasn't a shower at the changing room, so it would have been absolutely disgusting. But luckily with the DHB skin suit, I could ride along, and there is a bit where you can pull down, you can whack Jimmy out while you're riding along. So for me, I was going along about 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour on a downhill. Luckily there weren't too many cars coming at the time, and there definitely wasn't any spectators on that bit because it was a busy part of the road. So just whacked him out, quickly went for it while going downhill to make sure I didn't lose any speed, keep the speed high, and then put him back in, carry on. I only had to do it twice I think for the 12 hours. But yeah, thankfully I was able to do that. I didn't have to stop, and I didn't have to piss myself, which I don't know if I could have done knowing that there wasn't a changing room afterwards.
Simon P said, hey Joe, enjoy the video, we'll try for sure. Have a nutrition question. I saw you drinking a beer, a Belgian Trappist, in one of your vids. Love them as well, but where do you draw the line?
That's a good question. Yeah, love the Belgian beers, and what I would say to you is would be don't draw the line at as long as it doesn't affect the next day's training. So if you have 2 and it doesn't affect next day's training, then you're all good, But if you're having 6 and you're waking up with a hangover and you can't train the next day, then obviously there's too many. But for me personally, I try to limit it to just the weekend. So if I drink, I try to, in general, just drink on a Friday, Saturday or a Sunday. It could be any of them, it could be all 3, it could be 1, or it could be none. And I'll just try not to have too many that I'm hungover the next day. And yeah, just try not to drink during the week. For me, that's what I do. But if you were drinking during the week, I would say limit it at as long as it's not affecting the next day's training.
I also got a question from Grassy. He says, did you get a sore ass in that 12-hour?
Oh, Grassy, my ass was killing me afterwards. Honestly, it was so painful. I forgot how bad the chafing gets on a 12-hour time trial. And yeah, put it as well, I couldn't ride my bike for 2 or 3 days afterwards. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Luckily, by the next weekend it was all good and I was able to go out cycling again, but yeah, it wasn't great.
Benjamin Barber says, what's your optimal in-race nutrition plan for a 70.3 in full distance?
For a 70.3, probably 90 to 100 grams of carbs an hour. So take an energy drink on the bike and probably have 3 or 4 gels, and you'll be all good. And then on the run, maybe like 2 gels or something like that, and some energy drink at an aid station. For a full distance, I take probably a good 100 grams of carbs an hour, maybe even more, to be honest. I have 17 gels in a bottle, and I have some energy drink to start off with. I'll probably go through all 17 gels, I'll go through the energy drink, and then I'll be taking water from the aid stations, and then on the run I'll probably have 7 or 8 gels.
Chris Williams says, thoughts on Camworth not making the Ineos TDF team?
I can't believe he didn't make the Ineos team. Such a classy bike rider like him. It's a travesty. No, I mean, to be fair to him, I think he's doing all right in cycling, isn't he? But when he can't win Kona, his best chances are probably going back to cycling.
Dan Williams says, you say you wing it when planning training. Do you have any targets for volume or key weekly sessions?
Not really any targets. I guess if you were saying targets, I do have certain sessions that I want to make sure I execute every week. So I want to execute like a speed session on the run, a tempo session on the run. Obviously, I want to do 1 long ride on the bike, preferably 2. That would be a target. 1 hard bike session a week, and then the swim, I would like to do 1 hard swim session a week. At the moment, it's a bit different because I've kind of stripped my swimming right back, and I'm just working right on technique, because it kind of dawned on me. It didn't really dawn on me, but with the break of not swimming for quite a few months with COVID, I thought I can either bang in the sessions straight away, keep my technique, but a bad technique at the end of the day can only take you so far, so I'd end up getting back to my original speed, but I wouldn't be going any quicker. So I've kind of stripped that right back. I'm working on technique to try and really improve my technique, and then I'll start adding the sessions on. So at the moment, my swim training isn't that hard, but it's very technique focused to try and really make a breakthrough on that. But yeah, with the biking and running at the moment, I make sure I just execute like 3 or 4 key sessions a week, and then the volume around it just fills it up. If I'm feeling tired, it'll be less volume. If I'm feeling good, it might be a bit more.
Kerry Sport and Matt Blackmore are both interested in rest days, so they want to know, how often do you have rest days and what do you do in terms of recovery?
So I probably have 2 rest days a week, Mondays and Fridays. I just do an easy run and swim on them days. One of them might be a bike instead of a swim, but it won't be any more than that. It'll be pretty easy, 2 to 3k of swimming. Running might be about between, I guess, 6 miles, 10k, and 13 or 14k. But it varies. It might be less if I'm feeling more tired. So I'll generally try and get them done in the morning. Then I'll chill out the rest of the afternoon. Maybe go out somewhere, chill out, go to a beach. Depends what my girlfriend's doing, or put my feet up on the couch and watch Netflix or something. So pretty laid back.
Coffee Cyclist says, hey Joe, apologies if you answered this before. At your level, it's quite rare for an athlete not to have a coach. Obviously, you're doing just fine without one, but what's your thinking behind that decision?
Basically, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. If you've been doing something for a long period of time, it's very hard to try something different. I did have a coach at one point, back in 2016, but I think I actually went a bit slower when I had one. I wasn't going as well as what I was, and up until I got coached at that point, I was on quite an upward trajectory, but I changed because I thought it might be good to try. I quite like the feeling of just doing what the coach says and not having to think about it, and potentially them sorting out that aspect of it and me just nailing the sessions. But yeah, it didn't work. I went slower, and then when I went back to coach myself, I carried on improving again. And I've just been, since then, I've kind of just been carried on doing what I've been doing. But having said that, I do speak to a lot of different coaches, athletes. I've trained with so many different groups now. It's not like I'm kind of stuck in my own little bubble doing it. I've seen a lot of different people, pros, professional coaches, how they train, spoke to them, seen stuff online. So, and obviously with my background in sports science, you do get a massive kind of background of how everyone trains, and then I can take what I think works myself. And also a lot of it is trial and error. At the end of the day, what I like to say to people when they talk about a coach, I say a coach is just giving you their opinion on what they think you should do. There's no guarantee, which a lot of people think when you sign up to a coach, I'm going to improve and coach by so-and-so. No, you're not. That is just so-and-so's opinion on what he thinks you should be doing. It's not a guaranteed recipe for success.
Mickey Davies says, anything to share on your nutrition focus? carb, fat, protein percentage, fat, carb burn rates, fasted sessions, etc.?
Cool, mate. That's pretty complex for someone like me. I just would say eat a well-balanced, healthy diet. You know, if you've got some hard sessions, definitely have the carbs. I don't really agree with like avoiding carbs and going high fat. But I would say eat a well-balanced, healthy diet. When you've got a big day coming up, eat more carbs. If you've got an easier day, you know, just maybe eat a bit less. I'm saying that sometimes you don't want to eat a bit less because your body's recovering from the hard sessions that you have done, and you actually find yourself feeling quite hungry. So just listen to your body. If you feel hungry, eat, and just try and eat a mixture of like fruit, veg, carbs, and obviously if you do want to treat, don't stop yourself from having, you know, going out for a meal and having a dessert or having the odd cake. You know, just everything in moderation and a well-balanced diet. I think you can't go much wrong with that.
And then finally, John Overman says, how would a head-to-head with Sanders play out?
Oh, mate, no competition. Yeah, like over the full distance, you know, I'd love to race him again. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity and we can really see how it's going to go. Yeah, none of this virtual racing. Let's get back on the roads, have a good one, and Sanders can ask me for a few tips at the end. As always, hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments below and we'll do our best to answer some of them next time when we do this. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You might not like it, but still do it because it helps us out. None of this thumbs down malarkey, what some people have been doing. Yeah, hope you liked it, and we'll see you next time.